All right, good evening. I'd like to call the Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 to order. Will the city call the roll, please?
Ms. Defoe?
Here.
Mr. Friedman? Here. Mr. Rogers? Ms. Libet?
Present.
Mr. Jenkins?
Present.
Mr. Havas? Madam Chairperson, you have a quorum to conduct business.
Thank you. Are there any communications?
None at this time.
Okay, so we will move into our public hearing. For those of you who haven't joined us before, let me briefly describe how we conduct business. The city will call the case by the case number and read a brief description of the case. We ask the appellant to then step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the board. And there's also a sign-in sheet at the podium if you'll sign in as well. And then explain to the board what you're asking for and why. Then the city will read the findings of fact. We'll ask you to agree with those facts or add any other facts at that time. Then the city will give a recommendation. You'll still have an opportunity to speak after the recommendation as well. Then we'll open up public comment. So if you're here from the public to speak on a case, you have an opportunity at that time in the proceeding. And then we will turn it over to the board to discuss. We ask the appellant to stay close to the podium as we may have questions. And then a decision will be made, and then we'll move on to the next case. So will the city call the first case, please?
Case number 2419. The appellant, Sean Davis, representing the owner Jacqueline D. Pippin, is requesting the following waiver from the board. To reduce the side yard setback to allow for an addition to an existing house, 3-foot minimum setback proposed, 8-foot minimum setback required. The property is located on the west side of Lexington Parkway between Spring Arbor and West 11 Mile Road at 27055 Lexington Parkway, Sidwell parcel number 762413382014, zoned RA, single-family residential. This appeal is to Chapter 45, Article 22, Section 5.193 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Great, thank you. Is the appellant here? Yes, ma'am. If you would step to the microphone, please. And state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jacqueline Pippin. My address is 27055 Lexington Parkway, Southfield, Michigan, 48076.
Perfect, thank you. And if you could bring the microphone down closer to you, that would be helpful. These microphones, you need to be right up on top of them.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you explain to the board what you're asking for and why, please?
I'm trying to add an addition to my home because I need to bring my mother with me. My mother's 86 years old, and I didn't want her to have to go into a nursing facility. So I've decided in order for me to be able to afford to do what I need to do, it was better for me to add an addition to my home so we can all be comfortable.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Sean Davis, representing the owner Jacqueline D. Pippin, is requesting the following waiver from the board. To reduce the side yard setback to allow for an addition to existing house. 5-foot minimum setback proposed, 8-foot minimum setback required. The property is located on the west side of Lexington Parkway between Spring Arbor and West 11 Mile Road at 27055 Lexington Parkway, Sidwell parcel number 762413382014, zoned RA, single-family residential. This appeal is to Chapter 45, Article 22, Section 5.193 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance. The properties to the north, south, east, and west are zoned RA, single-family residential, and are developed with single-family homes in the Cambridge Village subdivision. Field inspection of the surrounding area reveals the properties to the north, south, east, and west are mostly 1- or 2-story single-family dwellings with attached garages. A few of the properties have unattached garages or do not have a garage. The exteriors are made of mostly brick and siding. The construction of the surrounding properties range from approximately 1,000 square feet to 2,000 square feet. The surrounding properties are mostly legal conforming in setback and lot coverage requirements. The subject property is a corner lot that was built in 1957 and is a 1,189 square foot, one-story ranch-style, single-family residence with basement and a 440 square foot attached garage expansion addition in 2023. The variance request is to reduce the side yard setback to allow for an addition to the existing house. 5 feet minimum setback proposed, 8 feet minimum setback required.
All right, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes, ma'am?
Okay, sounds good. Do you have any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Will the city read the recommendation, please?
Staff recommendation is for favorable consideration to reduce the side yard setback by 3 feet. 5 feet proposed, 8 feet required, as requested with the following conditions. The appellant secures all of the required permits and inspections from the City of Southfield Building Department. This recommendation is based upon the following. The proposed reduction of the side yard setback to allow for an addition to the existing house is consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. The proposed reduction of the side yard setback to allow for an addition to the existing house is in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties.
All right, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add? No? Okay,
No, ma'am.
perfect. If you just want to have a seat in the front row, we'll open public comment at this time.
Yes, ma'am.
If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this case, now would be your opportunity to step forward and address the board.
Cynthia Yeager, Jaeger, 27030 Lexington Parkway, Southfield, Michigan, 48076. I live right across the street, and I see no problem with the addition. It will conform to the building nicely.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Jenkins?
I support this effort. I think it's real nice that and then they had a neighbor come across the street, from across the street to come and support it. I think that tells you a whole lot about the neighborhood and what the blessings they are having in the area. So I support it totally.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Friedman?
I have no issues with it.
Thank you. Ms. Libet?
I love it.
All right, great. I also agree. I think this is a minor request and am happy to support it. So Ms. Libet, will you make a motion for us?
The appellant, Sean Davis, representing the owner, Jacqueline Pippin. Jacqueline Pippin actually represented herself, is requesting the following waiver from the board to reduce the side yard setback to allow for an addition to existing home, 5-foot minimum setback proposed, 8-foot minimum setback required. The property is located on the west side of Lexington Parkway between Spring Arbor and West 11 Mile Road at 27055 Lexington Parkway, Sidwell, parcel number 762413382014, zoned RA or single family residential. I recommend approval of this to reduce the side yard setback by 3 feet, 5 proposed, 8 required, as requested with the following condition. The appellant secures all the required permits and inspections from the City of Southfield Building Department. The recommendation is based upon the following. The proposed reduction of the side yard setback to allow for an addition to the existing home is consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, and the proposed reduction of the side yard setback to allow for an addition to the existing home is in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties.
Great, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Your request is granted. Again, continue to work with the city on your permits for each step of the process, all right? Thank you. Will the city call the next case, please?
Case number 24-21. The appellant, Michigan Fire Restoration, representing the owner, Rhonda Berry, is requesting the following waiver from the board. to reduce the rear yard setback to allow for an addition to an existing legal non-conforming house with attached garage, which has a legal non-conforming rear yard setback, proposed 15 feet, required 25 feet. The property is located on the west side of Twining Drive between Teacup Court and Jeffrey Street at 23351 Twining Drive, Sidwell parcel number 2426352-025, zoned R4, single-family residential, Washington Village Subdivision 7. This appeal is to Chapter 45, Article 22, Section 5.193 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Is the appellant here? Hi there. Again, if you'll just step to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Shawana Gajeski. The address in question here, is that what you're referring to, the Twining address?
Can she speak up a little bit?
Yeah, and make sure you're speaking right into the microphone, you pull it closer to you. Usually it's your business address or your home address.
Okay. My home address is 28770 San Carlos, Southfield, Michigan, 48076.
Okay. And are you the owner of the property, or are you with the restoration company?
I'm representing Michael Griffin. He's out of town. He's the owner of Michigan Fire and Restoration.
Okay. Did they authorize anybody else? If not, we might have to reach him. Because I only see Michael Griffin.
So for the appellant information, it's just under Michigan Fire Restoration LLC, is how that paperwork was filled out.
Oh,
The owner is here
Okay.
also.
oh, okay. Sorry, the owner is Rhonda Berry?
Yes.
Okay, okay, all right, thank you.
Is that okay?
Yep,
So we are requesting a waiver in order to add an addition onto the back of the home. It's already non-conforming, so we're asking, the homeowner is asking to build an addition to add about 240 square feet to their existing home. It's an irregular lot, so there's already, it's not conforming for the setbacks, and we're asking for a waiver in order to add this addition as well.
okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Michigan Fire Restoration, representing the owner, Rhonda Berry, is requesting the following waiver from the board. To reduce the rear yard setback to allow for an addition to an existing legal non-conforming house with attached garage, which has a legal non-conforming rear yard setback, proposed 15 feet, required 25 feet. The property is located on the west side of Twining Drive between Teacup Court and Jeffrey Street at 23351 Twining Drive, Sidwell parcel number 2426352-025, zoned R4, single-family residential, Washington Village Subdivision 7. This appeal is to Chapter 45, Article 22, Section 5.193 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance. The properties to the north, south, east, and west are zoned R4, single-family residential, and are developed with single-family dwellings in the Washington Village Subdivision 7. Field inspection of the surrounding area reveals the properties to the north, south, east, and west are a mixture of 1- and 2-story single-family dwellings. The exteriors are made of mostly brick and siding. Most of the homes in the area have attached garages. There may be a few homes with a detached garage or no garage at all. The construction of the surrounding area ranges from approximately 1,500 square feet to approximately 2,600 square feet. The surrounding properties are mostly conforming or legal non-conforming. The subject property was built in 1969 and is a 1,679 square foot single-story ranch-type single-family residential dwelling with a 483 square foot attached garage and a 143 square foot front porch. Excuse me. There is a 12-foot drainage easement at the rear of this property. Liber 118, page 25. The appellant proposes to reduce the rear yard setback to allow for an addition to an existing legal non-conforming house with attached garage, which has a legal non-conforming rear yard setback. Variance request is for 10-foot reduction of rear yard setback. Proposed 15 feet, required 25 feet.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes.
Are there any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
No.
Okay. All right, will the city read the recommendation, please?
Staff recommendations for favorable consideration for the following waiver. A 10-foot setback reduction, 15 feet proposed, 25 feet required, to allow for an addition to an existing legal non-conforming house with attached garage, which has a legal non-conforming rear yard setback, with the following conditions. The appellant secures the required permits and inspections from the City of Southfield Building Department. This recommendation is based on the following. The strict application of the ordinance could result in impractical difficulties or hardship to the owner and would not impair the intent and purpose of the ordinance. The requested waiver for rear yard setback would not have an adverse effect upon the adjacent or surrounding properties.
All right, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add at this time?
No.
No? Okay, so we'll open public comment on this case.
Thank you.
If you're here to speak on this case, now would be your opportunity to step forward. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Ms. Libet?
Yes. The appellant, Michigan Fire Restoration.
Oh, wait, no, no, yep. What do you think?
I think I agree.
All right, I like it. Mr. Friedman?
I have no issues with it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jenkins?
I recommend.
All right, thank you, I agree. Happy to see residents making some upgrades. So, Ms. Levitt, if you'd love to make a motion, I'll take it.
I've already got it in my hand.
All right,
so-
perfect.
The appellant, Michigan Fire Restoration, representing the owner, Rhonda Berry, is requesting the following waiver from the board: to reduce the rear yard setback to allow for an addition to an existing legal non-conforming house with attached garage, which has a legal non-conforming rear yard setback, proposed 15, required 25. The property is located on the west side of Twinning Drive between Teacup Court and Jeffrey Street at 23351 Twinning Drive, Sidwell, parcel number 24, 26352-025, zoned R4, residential family residential, Washington Village subdivision 7. It is recommended for favorable consideration of the following waiver: a 10-foot setback reduction, 15 proposed, 25 required, to allow for an addition to an existing legal non-conforming house with attached garage, which has a legal non-conforming rear yard setback. The recommendation is based on the following. The strict application of the ordinance could result in impractical difficulties or hardship to the owner that would not impair the intent and purpose of the ordinance. The requested waiver for rear yard setback would not have an adverse effect upon the adjacent or surrounding properties.
And can I also add that they'll work with the building department to secure all the permits required on the project?
I agree.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Your request is granted. And again, just please work with the building department on your permits as you proceed through the project. Okay, will the city call the next case, please?
Case number 24-16. The appellant, Samuel Kirkland, representing the owner, Andy Atisha, Southfield and 10 Properties LLC, is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver for 2 roof signs, 28.8 square feet each proposed, 0 square feet permitted. The property is located on the east side of Southfield Road, north of 10 Mile, between 10 Mile Road and Hilton at 25080 Southfield Road, Sidwell, parcel number 762424353-001, zoned B3, general business. This appeal is to Chapter 99, Article 3, Section 8.46, Part 8, more commonly known as the sign ordinance.
All right, thank you. Is the appellant here? Hi there. If you could each just introduce yourselves and state your name and address for the record, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Samuel Kirkland, 23221 Argyle Street, Novi, Michigan, 48374.
Thank you.
Otis Kirkland, 25871 Cobblers Lane, South Lyon, Michigan, 48178.
Thank you.
Stephanie Watson, 142 Chestnut Circle, Davison, Michigan.
All right, thank you. And then who would like to explain to us what you're asking for and why?
So what we're asking for is 2 additional channel letter signs up on the chimney. From my understanding is there has been additional signs up on that part of the building for previous tenants, and so we're just asking that they are allowed so that visibility is on the back side or that side of the building as well as the front side.
So we're going into the old spot where...
All the way to the microphone, please.
We're going into the old spot where Paradise Lounge was, and Paradise had signs on the chimney, so we just want to replace our signs where theirs were.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Samuel Kirkland, representing the owner, Andy Atisha, Southfield and 10 Properties, LLC, excuse me, is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver for 2 roof signs, 28.8 square feet each proposed, 0 square feet permitted. The property is located on the east side of Southfield Road, north of 10 Mile, between 10 Mile Road and Hilton, at 25080 Southfield Road, Sidwell parcel number 762424353001, zoned B3, general business. This appeal is Chapter 99, Article 3, Section 8.46, Part 8, more commonly known as the sign ordinance. The property to the north is zoned OS, office service, with a 2-story with basement office building. The property to the south is zoned B3, general business, with a fueling station mini-mart at the southeast corner of 10 Mile Road and Southfield Road. The properties to the east are zoned R2, single-family residential with condominiums. The property to the west is zoned B3, general business, with a single-story mercantile business at the northwest corner of 10 Mile Road and Southfield Road. Excuse me. The surrounding properties are mostly conforming or legal non-conforming in setback and lot coverage requirements. The subject property is located on the northeast corner of Southfield Road and 10 Mile Road and is a multi-tenant plaza retail building zoned B3 general business and appears to be built in 2 phases, a 6,600 square foot single-story built in 1961, with an additional 4,400 square foot single-story with basement built in 1964. Records indicate that there has been at least 1 restaurant business at the basement lower level, and the entrance for this is located at the parking lot, east side. The site has 4 entrance exits, 2 along Southfield Road and 2 along Hilton Drive. There are 2 recorded ZBA cases pertaining to roof signs at this address. ZBA 88-006, change of verbiage only, and ZBA case 89-28. Variance request is for a waiver for 2 roof signs, 2 28.8 square foot proposed, 0 square foot permitted.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts? Yes. Okay, any other facts you'd like to add at this time? No? Okay. Will the city read the recommendation, please? No problem, whenever you're ready.
Staff recommendation is for denial of the waiver for 2 roof signs, 2 28.8 square foot proposed, 0 square foot permitted. This recommendation is based on the following. The proposed roof sign is not consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance. The proposed roof signs are not in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties. There is a recorded history of roof signs being removed from the roof. There are no roof signs presently installed. There is available wall space above the individual tenant space, which faces the parking lot. There are 5 parking lot sidewall signs already installed, and one of these wall signs is for a business with the entrance located 25090 at the parking lot side, similar to 25080 business entrance. Roof signs are prohibited.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add at this point? Otherwise, we can open public comment. No? Okay, so we will open public comment on this case. If anyone is here to speak on this case, now is your opportunity to step forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Friedman?
I do have some questions. Actually, the questions are for the staff. I do have a question for you in a moment. The staff finding of fact mentions 2 cases about roof signs at the address. What were we didn't get any information about those. Were those approving roof signs at the address?
Those records are unavailable to us. They're probably in storage. They go back to 1989, and that's probably with Iron Mountain. We can request those records to find out what the status of those was. We do have 4 other permits that allowed those signs, and we believe that those cases allowed the previous signs to be there.
Okay.
But we can't verify that yet. And if it's an issue, we'll request those records. But that was prior to the current ordinance, which says roof signs are not allowed. So that's why they went to ZBA to get those signs up there in the first place. But there's been signs put up there that were ordered to be removed because they didn't have any permits for them. So we've had 2 signs up that were ordered to be removed, which they complied, and took the signs down because they didn't have any permits for them.
Got it.
Okay, and those were, and that was the question I asked, those were the signs for the previous restaurant?
That's correct.
That occupies the location that they have?
That's correct.
And the issue, is if I'm understanding correctly, so presumably they were approved, those cases approved the signs, but they didn't have permits for the signs?
No. The previous signs were prior to the ordinance. So those signs were approved by ZBA because there was no ordinance that said they could have them up there. So I'm not sure why they went to ZBA for those signs. We believe it was to install signs on a rooftop or in that location. I don't know what the ordinance said back in 1989. So I can't really clear that up. If you need that cleared up, we can make those arrangements.
No, I'm just trying to understand. And so my next question is,
Okay.
is roof signs are prohibited by the ordinance. So is there a definition of roof sign? Because I know
Anything above the roof line.
we've had cases, for example, just across the corner, and again, I'm working from memory, just across the corner, there's a salsa restaurant or something like that, where they had needed approval because there was more signage, but one of the signs they needed approval for was on a kind of turret or tower.
Correct.
So would that be a roof sign?
No, it wasn't above the roof line.
But don't they have, this sort of chimney is sort of, at least to me, seems like a similar to a tower.
Again, if you make that case, I would say that it would be approved based on the fact that it was considered a wall sign at the time.
Okay. So even if building, parts of the building extend beyond the roof?
Correct.
That makes it a roof sign if it's above the roof line?
That's correct.
I could imagine. Despite the, and just to say where I was, despite the not permitting of roof signs by the ordinance, I don't have, to my mind, any reason why this would look particularly worse than, kind of a tower sign or something like that. And so I really don't see an issue with these signs, and I'd approve the waiver.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins?
I said the same thing. I don't understand why it's prohibited, because it's not a challenge to anybody driving through there or looking at it. So I'm trying to, I'm trying to say this. I don't see a challenge with that being up there even though it says it's something about the roof line, because I think it should be prohibited. It should be allowed.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Libet?
I'm torn. It's a very classy looking sign, the way that it is there. And so I was wondering, I heard your definition of a roof sign. I don't see a problem with that. I'm torn. And also, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Why do you feel you need that sign like that?
We need that sign like that because you can't see the front of the building, but there's probably 15 other storefronts in there, and there's no room for our sign on the front of the building that faces the Southfield Road there. And that's where most of the traffic's gonna be coming from, is on Southfield Road. So if we didn't have signage on the front of the building, it would be hard to market and advertise our business that's in the back of the building. And we do have 2 doors in the front of that building, and there's no room for our signage at all in the front of that building.
So that's my opinion, but I agree. I think there's no Southfield Road signage. The point of
Madam Chair, if I may?
signage, one second, the point of signage is to direct people to the building, and there is no signage to direct people to that building. I do not support roof signs in general, which I think of as like a billboard on top of a roof. So from that perspective, I would say absolutely not. If it was like some kind of billboard on roofs, I would not support that. I agree, I think it's a very classy looking sign, and when you get close to the building, there are holes there for signs. So it almost looks like it's a distraction, like it hasn't been taken care of because it's missing a sign. So, Mr.
Ben, I
Wilkins.
just wanted to verify what the applicant is mentioning about the doors facing Southfield are exits. They're not entrances. The entrances face the parking lot for this property, so there really is no room for a sign on the Southfield side of that building.
Right.
And having tried to find the Paradise when it was there, going to an event, you know, it's not easy to see where I'm supposed to go. I think a sign like that would be really positive. And once again, it's a beautiful sign.
I totally agree.
Yep. Okay, any other thoughts? Mr. Friedman, will you make a motion for us?
Sure. With regard to the applicant, Samuel Cochran, representing the owner, Andy Atisha, Southfield 10 Properties, request for a waiver of 2 roof signs, 2 28.8 square foot roof signs, 28.8 square proposed, 0 permitted, on the property located on the east side of Southfield Road, north of 10 Mile, between 10 Mile Road and Hilton at 25080 Southfield Road, civil parcel 7624353-001, Zone B3 family business. I recommend that we approve the waiver of 2 roof signs. I make this recommendation based on belief that the roof sign is consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance, and the proposed roof sign would be consonant with the character of the surrounding area, and that the proposed plan for the roof sign is attractive and would not be a detriment to the general attractiveness of the building.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Your request is granted. Again, work with the city on your permit.
All right, thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you. Will the city call the next case, please?
Case number 24-17. The appellant, Rebecca Godin, Phillips Sign and Lighting, representing the owner, Paul Lutfi, 24520 12 Mile, Southfield LLC, is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver of wall sign area, 61.04 square feet proposed, 34 square feet permitted. The property is located on the north side of 12 Mile Road between Telegraph Road and Lockdale at 24508 West 12 Mile Road, Sidwell parcel number 762408451-009, zoned B3 general business. This appeal is to Chapter 99, Article 11, Section 8.59, Part 1C, more commonly known as the sign ordinance.
All right, thank you. Is the appellant here?
Hi, my name is Rebecca Godin, and I represent Phillips Sign and Lighting, and I'm representing You Break I Fix for the sign that you see here proposed today. The reason, you want me to talk what?
Yeah, explain to us what
Okay.
you're asking for and
Okay,
why.
so-
Sorry, I didn't prompt you, I apologize.
Speak up.
Okay.
And yeah, come right into the
Speak up,
microphone,
please.
please.
Speak what?
Speak up, please.
Okay. So I'm requesting the sign that we have proposed here. The square footage of box is 61 square feet. And that is a logo, so it's very specific to the ratio as well as the design of the sign. We do have the black background on there that's creating a lot of kind of empty square footage. And if we actually did just box the white parts of the sign, we would actually conform to the 34 square foot, like would be 32.3 square feet if we just boxed the white portions.
Okay. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Rebecca Godin, Phillips Sign and Lighting, representing the owner, Paul Lutfi, 24520 12 Mile Southfield LLC, is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver of wall sign area, 61.04 square feet proposed, 34 square feet permitted. The property is located on the north side of 12 Mile Road between Telegraph Road and Lockdale at 24508 West 12 Mile Road, Sidwell parcel number 762408451009, zoned B3 general business. This appeal is to Chapter 99, Article 11, Section 8.59, Part 1C, more commonly known as the sign ordinance. The properties to the north, south, east, and west are zoned B3 general business and consist of fueling stations, mini-marts, restaurants, and service stores. Field inspection of the surrounding area reveals the properties to the north, south, east, and west are either single-tenant or multi-tenant plaza retail buildings zoned B3 general business. The surrounding properties are mostly legal conforming or legal non-conforming in setback and lot coverage requirements. The site has 3 entrances exits, 2 along 12 Mile Road and 1 along Telegraph Road. A survey of signage at the site reveals a total of 7 conforming or legal non-conforming wall signs facing 2 major thoroughfares, 1 legal non-conforming garden ground sign and 1 legal non-conforming ground support sign. Excuse me. The subject property was built in 2007 and is a 1,428 square foot tenant space, Unit 2, that is part of a 16,000 square foot single-story retail building and is zoned B3 general business. The subject property store frontage is 17 feet. The subject property has an existing wall sign. The, quote, "you break, I fix," unquote, portion is all capital letters. The variance request is for a waiver of wall sign area for the new upgraded wall sign, 61.04 square feet proposed, 34 square feet permitted.
All right, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes.
Okay, any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
Just the boxing of just the white portions, that we could be lower. I also know that if I just did 2 boxes, including the black portions, we would only be 51.5. So it all depends on how you calculate the sign. The other thing that I would like to point out is that that is a very busy section, and we just want to make sure that that the customers can find the entrance safely and be able to identify, the sign, because it's so busy right there as well.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the recommendation, please?
Staff recommendations for favorable consideration to approve the additional 27.04 square feet of wall signs, 61.04 square feet proposed, 34 square feet permitted, as requested with the following conditions. That the appellant secures all the required permits and inspections from the City of Southfield Building Department. This recommendation is based upon the following. The proposed wall sign is consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance. The proposed sign is in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties. The proposed sign appears to be an upgraded sign design for the same business franchise.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, not much.
Okay.
We're good.
Then we will open public comment. If you are here from the public to speak on this case, now is your opportunity. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Jenkins?
Approve.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Friedman?
I have no issues with
Okay. Ms. Libet? Okay. I have no issues with the sign, but what I do have a concern and an issue with is the fact that we're looking at a single tenant instead of at the full development. So generally, when we've looked at sign cases on plazas like this, we're looking at all signage and looking at it collectively for the full square foot that's allowed for the whole development, along with the wall signs and any ground signs and anything else that's available. So I'm gonna just put that on the record that I have a concern of us approving a single tenant, and now 6 other tenants in that plaza show up and wanna talk about making their sign slightly larger. So, I mean, I support the sign, it's not the sign that's a problem, but I am a little concerned about that. So we'll see how it goes, and if we need to change our rules of procedure at the end of the year, we may have to. So, Mr. Jenkins, will you make a motion on this one for us?
Move forward to approve it.
Okay, can you give us the case number and the parcel number too, please?
The Southfield Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing regarding the Pillar Rebecca Colden Phillips sign and lighting representing the owner, Paul Lufty, 24520 12 Mile Road, Southfield, LLC is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver of wall sign area 61.04 square feet proposed, 34 square feet permitted. The property is located on the north side of 12 Mile Road, between 12 Mile Road and Lockdale at 24508 West 12 Mile Road. Sidwell parcel number 76-24-08-451-009, zone B3, general business. This is appeal to,
You can skip over that section and
Okay.
just go down to your motion.
my motion is to, staff recommendation is favorable for consideration to approve this additional 27.04 square feet of wall sign, 61.04 square feet proposed, 34 square feet permitted as requested with the following conditions. That the appellant secures all the required permits and inspection from the City of Southfield Building Department. This recommendation is based on the following. The proposed wall sign is consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance. The proposed sign is in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would not have an adverse effect upon the adjacent or surrounding properties. The proposed sign appears to be upgraded sign designed for the same business franchise.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, your request is granted. Again, please work with the city on your permits.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Will the city call the next case, please?
Case 24-18. The appellant, Phillips Sign and Lighting Incorporated, representing the owner, Beaumont Health, is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver of wall sign area, 316 square feet proposed, 200 square feet permitted. The property is located on the south side of Northwestern Highway between Northwestern Service Drive and Beaumont Boulevard at 26901 Beaumont Boulevard, Building B, Sidwell parcel number 76-24-21-100-122, zoned EROM, Educational Research Office Limited. This appeal is to Chapter 99, Article 8, Section 8.56, Part 1B, more commonly known as the sign ordinance.
Great, thank you. Is the appellant here? Hi there, good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Rose, 1324 Greenleaf, Rochester Hills, representing Phillips Sign and Lighting and my customer from Beaumont Health. We are requesting a larger sign than what is permitted due to the size of the building being 793,000 square feet. We feel that 316 square foot sign is the right size and actually, if nothing else, a little bit minimal for that size of a building. I want to note that this is the only branding that Priority Health, which is a subsidiary of Corwell and Beaumont, is going to have on this building, the only wall sign.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Phillips Sign and Lighting Incorporated, representing the owner, Beaumont Health, is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver of wall sign area, 316 square feet proposed, 200 square feet permitted. The property is located on the south side of Northwestern Highway between Northwestern Service Drive and Beaumont Boulevard at 26901 Beaumont Boulevard, Building B, Sidwell Parcel 762421100122, zoned ERO-M, Educational Research Office Limited. This appeal is to Chapter 99, Article 8, Section 8.56, Part 1B, more commonly known as the sign ordinance. The properties to the west are zoned B2, planned business, R2, single family, and RMM, multiple family medium rise, and there is an existing hotel and apartment complex. The property to the east is zoned EROM, Educational Research Office Limited, and there are 2 existing 4-story office buildings. The property to the south is zoned R2, and there are existing condominiums. The property to the north is the M10 Northwestern Highway Freeway and M10 Northwestern Highway Service Drive. The site has 4 entrances, exits, 2 along M10 Northwestern Highway Service Drive and 2 along Beaumont Boulevard. The subject property is located on the south side of Northwestern Highway M10 between Northwestern Service Drive and Beaumont Boulevard at 26901 Beaumont Boulevard, Building B, Sidwell parcel number 762421100122, zoned EROM, Educational Research Office Limited. The subject property is an existing multi-story, multi-address, interconnected office building complex. A survey of signage at the site reveals the following. Ground support signage granted in ZBA case 83-123 and revised again in 2005 as follows. 1 4-sided ground sign at 55 square feet, an area per side at the corner of Northwestern Highway and First Center Drive, identifying Beaumont. 1 ground sign with addresses only at 2 separate entrances along the First Center Drive frontage and 1 along the main entrance at Northwestern Highway. Wall signage granted in ZBA case 94-35, 99 square feet in area for multiple locations on each separate addressed building as follows. 1 Beaumont wall sign, 99 square feet in area located on a 4-story building. 1 HED wall sign, 58 square feet in area located on a 5-story building. 1 United Healthcare, 60 square feet in area located on a 5-story building, proposed to be removed when lease expires. 2 Secure 24 wall signs, 60 square feet each, located on a 5-story building. Signage granted ZBA case 1805. 1 main ground sign at corner of Northwestern Highway and First Center Drive, replacing the existing 4-sided sign. The sign identifies Beaumont Service Center and is a 130 square feet in area calculated as 2 shapes as permitted by ordinance. 7 feet in overall height, which meets setback requirements. 1 ground sign for each of the entrances, 3, 20 square feet in sign area each. The remainder of the sign is directional information. 2 different height options are proposed. 2 identical wall signs, 572 square feet of area each identifying Beaumont on the 4-story building at the site. And to rescind all previous waivers for signage at the site in favor of this appeal. Excuse me. Variance request is for a waiver of wall sign area, 316 square feet proposed, 200 square feet permitted.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
I do.
Okay, any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
No, other than just the importance of that Priority Health doesn't have any of the signage that was previously mentioned, so that this is going to be unique to that business operation within the building, which is sizable.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the staff recommendation?
Staff recommendation is for favorable consideration to approve the additional 116 square feet of wall sign. 316 square feet proposed, 200 square feet permitted, as requested with the following conditions: that the appellant secures all required permits and inspections from the City of Southfield Building Department. The appellant sign and date the proposal as a master sign plan documents, and any changes that result in additional signage, not removals, be brought back to this board for approval. This recommendation is based upon the following. The proposed wall sign is consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance. The proposed sign is in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties. The proposed sign would be the only Priority Health wall sign at the property and would be facing a major thoroughfare.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add before we open public comment? Okay, so we will open public comment on this case. If you are here to speak on this case, now would be your opportunity to step forward. All right, seeing none, we will turn it over to the board. Mr. Friedman?
I have no issues with it.
All right, Mr. Jenkins?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Ms. Libet?
No issues with it.
Okay, so why is this not a rooftop sign? It's above the roof line to me.
We can still approve it.
We can, I'm just asking. I mean, the other rooftop sign was recommended to be denied, and this looks above the roof line. Any thoughts?
Are you talking to me?
I am talking to you.
What's the question?
How is this not a rooftop sign?
Because that has a roof over the top of it, and that's considered a roof. So the roof line has multiple levels on these buildings. Some are 4-story, some are 5-story, and some have penthouses. Penthouse is considered a roof.
What, if I could ask the, is there something inside of that?
Behind the sign
Inside,
location?
behind that sign?
Yeah, there's mechanical equipment, elevator equipment, it's called a mechanical penthouse is what it is.
Okay,
It's called an elevated machine room. That's what it's really called.
Well,
Okay.
that could be part of it, yeah.
Yeah, I know what it's called, okay.
I mean, I'm glad to see it's only on one side of the building. I mean, I will say, I've been on this board 11 years, and I only have one case that I regret voting on, and it's the Beaumont case. That sign was entirely too large. It appeared larger than even when we saw it here before the board. And that is the only case in 11 years that I've ever said, wow, that was a mistake. I will say Corewell Health looks much nicer. The letters are not as bubbly or something, the way they present. So, you know, and I understand that's not what you're asking about, but I have the microphone for the moment. So, you know, again, what you're requesting, I think, is fine. I was concerned when I drove the property that it was both sides, and I was like, you really can't see on the north side from anywhere, which is frankly why Beaumont wanted the sign location moved to where we agreed to place it. So this really is almost a directional sign for people that are already like trying, like, near the complex and just trying to get to the right part of the building?
You could look at it that way, certainly.
Okay. And I'm assuming you probably don't know the answer to this, but the ground sign is still like, says like Beaumont Service Center or something. Is there an intent to change that to
I'm quite certain
Corwell, or-
that that's in the works with obviously all of the Beaumont changing over to Corwell throughout the state, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're in the midst
Okay.
of a lot of.
And it's like Beaumont Drive too, so I assume at some point we change the name of the street too.
Good point, good point.
All right, yeah, I mean, I'll support it, I just needed to ask a few questions and say that, so, Mr. Friedman, you want to make the motion? Thank you.
With regard to the appellant Philip Sign and Lighting representing the owner of Beaumont Health, request for a waiver of, for a wall sign, 360 square feet proposed, only 200 square feet permitted. I move that we approve the waiver for an additional 116 feet of wall sign, and I base the recommendation upon the following, that the wall sign is consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance, and that the proposed sign is in keeping with the character of the surrounding area, would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties, and because the sign is apparently not a roof sign.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, again, please work with the city on your
Thank you, ladies and
non-roof
gentlemen,
sign.
appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, will the city call the next case, please?
Case number 24-20. The appellant, Global Signs and Awning, representing the owner, Sam Shaba, Telegraph LLC, is requesting the following waivers from the board. A waiver to install a wall sign, 51.4 square feet proposed, 32 square feet permitted. A waiver to install a garden ground sign, 1 proposed, 0 permitted. A waiver to install a garden ground sign, 15 feet height proposed, 5 feet permitted. I'm going to amend number 1 to say a waiver to install a wall sign, 51.4 square feet proposed, 32 square feet permitted, and not facing a major thoroughfare, 1 proposed, 0 allowed. This is a change from the legal notice.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. And then the location.
The property is located on the east side of Telegraph Road, north of 12 Mile, between Wildbrook Drive and the northern Southfield city limits at 30,000 Telegraph Road, Sidwell parcel number 762408426129, zoned B1, neighborhood business. This appeal is to Chapter 99, Article 9, Section 8.57, Part 1B, more commonly known as the sign ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Hello, good evening. If you both could introduce yourselves close to the microphone, please. It's really difficult to hear.
My name is Ayad Sido, represent the Global Signs and Awning regarding the sign in the city of Southfield.
Okay, and your name and address, please.
My name is Ayad Sido. It's, 22907 Decunder, Hazel Park, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. And, sir?
Hello there. My name is Sam Shava, representing Telegraph LLC, address being same as the address here, 30,000 Telegraph, Southfield, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. And can you explain to us what you're asking for and why, please?
Basically, we're requesting to have a sign for one of the tenants, being Banfield Pet Hospital. So you can see for the drawing, sign facing north on the north side of the building. And the other item would be the monument sign that would represent the tenants that are occupying the other spaces in the plaza.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Global Signs and Awning, representing the owner, Sam Shaba, Telegraph LLC, is requesting the following waivers from the board. A waiver to install a wall sign, 51.4 square feet proposed, 32 square feet permitted, and not facing a major thoroughfare, 1 proposed, 0 allowed. This is a change from the legal notice. A waiver to install a garden ground sign, 1 proposed, 0 permitted. A waiver to install a garden ground sign 15 feet height proposed, 5 feet height permitted. The property is located on the east side of Telegraph Road, north of 12 Mile, between Wildbrook Drive and the northern Southfield city limits at 30,000 Telegraph Road, Sidwell parcel number 762408426129, zoned B1, neighborhood business. This appeal is to Chapter 99, Article 9, Section 8.57, Part 1B, more commonly known as the sign ordinance. Excuse me. The property to the south is zoned OS, office service, and there is an existing single-story multi-tenant office building. The property to the west is zoned B3 business and is located across a main thoroughfare, Telegraph Road, and there is an existing auto dealership. The property to the east is zoned RM, multiple family, low rise, and there is an existing residential property comprised of multiple two-story condominiums and a single-story clubhouse. The property to the north is the Bingham Farms Office Park, located in Bingham Farms, Michigan. The subject property is the northernmost property along the east side of the Telegraph Road corridor, located within the Southfield city limits. The subject property contains two buildings. The main building is an approximately 11,147 square foot multi-tenant, single-story plaza-type building built in 1979 that was remodeled in 2014. The main building is the northernmost building along the east side of Telegraph Road within the Southfield city limits. A separate building, approximately 2,475 square feet, single-story restaurant, was built in 2015 at the southernmost portion of the property along the east side of the Telegraph Road corridor. The site has one entrance exit that is located between the two buildings along Telegraph Road. Variance requests are for a waiver to install a wall sign, 51.4 square feet proposed, 32 square feet permitted, and not facing a major thoroughfare, 1 proposed, 0 allowed. This is a change from the legal notice. A waiver to install a garden ground sign, 1 proposed, 0 permitted. A waiver to install a garden ground sign, 15 feet height proposed, 5 feet height permitted.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Okay, so we're only proposing the one monument ground sign, there's not two of them.
Correct. There's
Okay.
just one.
Okay.
But there's a wall sign on the north side of the building.
Yes,
Yep,
exactly.
and then a ground sign.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. But, so then you agree with the facts at that point?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we do.
All right, anything else you'd like to add?
Basically, the northern sign of the Banfield Pet Hospital is basically to support the business for it to be seen from the southbound traffic, southbound driving traffic, to be seen and recognized in the area. Banfield Pet Hospital recently became a tenant, and we'd like to see them strive and stick around. And obviously, the monument sign just would look great and improve the look and aesthetics of the plaza. Just kind of make everything look nicer. There's no downside to it.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the staff recommendation, please?
Staff recommendation is for favorable consideration for a wall sign variance of 19.4 square feet, 51.4 square feet proposed, 32 square feet permitted. This recommendation is based on the following. The proposed wall sign is consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance. The proposed wall sign is in keeping with the character of the surrounding area, will not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties. No. Staff recommendation is for denial of a waiver to install a garden ground sign, 1 proposed, 0 permitted. Also, a waiver to install a garden ground sign 15 feet height proposed, 5 feet height permitted. This recommendation is based upon the following. The proposed garden ground sign is not consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance. The proposed garden ground sign is not in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties.
Okay, thank you. Anything you'd like to add before we open public comment?
Go ahead.
Actually, he got like 3 tenants, only 3 tenants is fitting over there, like the city requirement is, he got 4 tenants, that's number 1. Number 2, the heights, it's too low, like for the sign, we need to increase the sign like above the grass over there, like for the winter time, to be covered with the snow or something, if it's possible, we increase the heights, more than 5 foot heights of the sign.
Okay, did you understand him?
I think he said it needed.
About the height?
About the height.
Okay.
Can I ask, did the city break down the waiver request into 2 different parts for the ground sign? Is he asking for one, and you're calling it a waiver to have a ground sign and then to have it over 5 feet?
Correct.
So it was always one, it was always a request for one ground sign?
Correct.
It's just listed here as 2 different waivers because he's asking for 2 different?
Correct.
Okay.
There's 0 allowed
Yeah.
ground signs in that zoning district, and a ground sign, if it was allowed
If it
in
was allowed.
B3, it would be a maximum height of 5 feet.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you waiting on me, or?
No, I think we're good. I think we're gonna open public comment. So if there's anybody from the board for anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this case, now would be your opportunity to step forward. Okay, so we're gonna close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Wagner, or Mr. Friedman, do you have any other questions?
You want to know what I feel?
Yeah, yeah.
I would approve the wall sign. I would approve the guarded ground sign, but I would agree with the city that 15 feet is too high.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins?
No, I have no comment. I go along with the recommendation.
Okay. Ms. Libet?
I agree, 15 feet is too high.
Okay. Do you support the wall sign?
Yes.
Okay. Do you support a ground sign or no? I mean, I guess let's ask.
15 feet.
Okay. Would you install a ground sign at 5 feet? Or would you pass on it?
If the city, if we were just.
So we would, if that's the way that it has to be done, then we would go for the 5-foot ground sign.
Okay.
/ monument sign.
Okay.
The only thing that we're asking for a little bit of an extension of the ground for it to be slightly higher so that in the winter months when it snows and what have you, we're able to clean around the bottom portion for it to be just slightly over the ground level, and be able to maintain the sign.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, if it's possible, can we go like a little bit, like less than 15 feet, where we allow like to go max heights, whatever we allow, we follow.
So what I was
That's
doing
no
when I was
problem.
looking at my phone is I actually was like looking around at all the different signs, like kind of across the street and down and up, and they're all pretty low. So, I mean, and I think the other thing to be aware of is that you can only put 3 tenants on a sign.
Okay.
So that's another restriction. And so that's why a lot of people like name their development, and then there's a sign that is the development name, right? Instead of all the tenant names.
So we do have 4 tenants in the plaza that is set up for 4 tenants. So if we could fit the 4 tenants within the space allowed, that would be.
That's not permitted. 3 is permitted without an additional waiver. So that would be another waiver.
I see. Okay.
So, I mean, we also can table the case and have you go back. I think that's maybe where we're at. I think there's a lot of potentials for them to change. What do you think?
I would.
Because I'd like to see the sign. I'd like to see what they're proposing.
I would today, if they are interested, approve the crown sign at 5 feet and the wall sign. And if they want to come, they'll still be subject to the requirement of 3 people if they want to come back and.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yep.
So the contractor was made aware that there was only 3, and they were supposed to provide a new drawing which showed only 3 tenants on the sign and a 5-foot sign, which we didn't receive. So we're still waiting, and I talked to the contractor this afternoon about these issues, and they're willing to do that,
Okay.
but they just haven't had time to present that to us.
Okay. Which they would have to do in the permitting process as well?
Yes.
Right? Okay. So I think that's where it seems the board is at, that we're willing to agree to the north side wall sign and a 5-foot sign with 3 tenants only.
Okay.
Okay? So if you can make that work, that's what we are willing to grant.
Okay, I guess we will work with what you're offering, and we will see about making it work for us.
Okay. Do you want to make the motion?
I'm thinking,
Okay, that's fine.
because I think I would rather wait to see the sign that was asked for with the 4 people and so forth, rather than going through all this and then having them come back again.
Well, I think we're saying we're willing to approve a sign, a wall sign, and willing to approve a 5-foot monument sign. And then they have to work with the building department on their permit, which would only allow them to have the 3 in however they want it. If they want it in vertical, if they want it horizontal, however they want the sign to look.
Okay. Here goes.
Okay.
The appellant, Global Signs and Awning, representing the owner, Sam Shaba Telegraph LLC, is requesting the following waivers from the board. A waiver to install a wall sign, 51.4 square feet proposed, 32 square feet permitted, not facing a major thoroughfare. A waiver to install a garden ground sign, 1 proposed, 0 permitted. A waiver to install a garden sign, 15 feet height proposed, 5 height permitted. The property is located on the east side of Telegraph Road, north of 12 Mile, between Wildwood Drive and the northern Southfield city limits at 3000 Telegraph Road, Sidwell parcel 762408426129, zone B1 neighborhood business. The waiver to install a wall sign, 51.4 square feet proposed, 32 square feet permitted, not facing a major thoroughfare, is moved. A waiver to install a garden sign, 1 proposed, 0 permitted, is approved.
Or moved.
Removed,
No,
I'm sorry.
yep, moved, yep, moved.
Moved, is moved. A waiver to install a garden ground sign, 15 feet height proposed, 5 feet permitted, is not approved. A monument is not moved. A monument sign, 5 feet of height, is moved.
Perfect. All right, can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay. Again, continue to work with the city on your permitting, and you're all set.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, will the city call the last case, please?
No, you call it.
Case number 24-22. Excuse me. The appellant, Richard Connick, architect, representing Whitmore Investments LLC owner, is requesting the following variances from the board. A variance of 5 feet of rear yard setback for the construction of a storage building, 15 feet required, 10 feet proposed. A variance of 4 feet of fence height, 6 feet permitted, 10 feet proposed. The property is located on the west side of Greenfield Road, north of 10 Mile Road, Sidwell parcel number 2424481-020, located at 25155 Greenfield Road, zoned B3 General Business. This appeal is to Section 5.37-1, Article 4, and Section 5.194, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
All right, thank you. Hello, good evening. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Good evening. Oops.
Yep, if you'll, bring that as close to you as you can, and then
Yeah.
state your name and address for the record, please.
Stay there. Hello, Richard Koenig, Siegel Tumala Associates Architects, 29200 Northwestern Highway, Southfield. So, as you may or may not be aware, there has been a couple of zoning violations with this property with outdoor storage in the back of the building there. So we have worked with the owner to propose this new storage addition to curtail that issue, to move it into a permanent structure so they can deal with all their product and storage of that. In the process of this, the owners have talked to the adjacent residents behind them to see if they had any concerns, comments. They came up with, at that time, the residents had only a couple comments of they would like a taller privacy fence. So that's where the 10-foot is coming from, is on their request, along with some new landscaping in there. So we've, are showing to remove all the overgrown stuff that's there, put in new, nicer hedges and bushes through there to cover that up. And then along with to go with the setback, trying to make everything fit in there and keep deliveries and traffic and everything, safety of employees coming in and out. We'd like to move the building back a little bit just to give us a little more space in between there, so.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
For CBA case 24-22, the appellant Richard Koenig, architect representing Whitmore Investments LLC owner, is requesting the following variances from the board. Variance of 4 feet, 11 inches of rear yard setback for the construction of a storage building, 15 feet required, 10 feet, 1 inch proposed. Please note this is a change from the legal notice. And a variance of 4 feet of fence height, 6 feet permitted, 10 feet proposed. Property is located on the west side of Greenfield Road, north of 10 Mile Road, Sidwell parcel 2424481-020, located at 25155 Greenfield Road, Zone B3 General Business. The subject property is currently developed with the Grove Market. Properties to the north are zoned RMU, multiple family high-rise, and OS office service, and are developed with the Highland Towers Senior Apartment Complex and Bank of America respectively. Property to the south is Zone B3 General Business and P vehicular parking, and is developed with the New Orleans Mall Shopping Center. The property to the east across Greenfield Road within the city of Oak Park is Zone B2 General Business and is developed with the Comerica Bank. The property to the west is Zone R2 Single Family Residential and is developed with a single family home fronting Hilton Street. The site contains 1.46 acres of land with 169 feet of frontage on Greenfield Road and a depth of 393.11 feet. The recently approved site plan for the property reflects the removal of existing unenclosed outside storage materials and wood privacy fence and the addition of a new 2,413 square foot storage building with rooftop equipment to be screened per zoning ordinance requirements, a 10-foot high wood privacy fence, which was permitted by City Council in lieu of a masonry screen wall, and landscaping. The building was proposed to address code enforcement issues pertaining to outside storage, which is not permitted in the B3 district. The building is proposed to be 24 feet, 1.5 inches in height, with approved elevations reflecting a mix of dark brown and tan CMU and brick, with overhead door and standing seam metal rooftop enclosure. The existing masonry knee wall along the south property line is to remain. The proposed structure will provide the property owner with means to store items that were not able to be stored inside the market building due to lack of space. Typical items to be stored will include dry goods, store supplies, and equipment. Space will be temperature controlled and will follow Oakland County Health Department guidelines for food storage. Property is currently maintained by a pest control company, which will also encompass the proposed storage building. Proposed structure, 10-foot high tall fence and landscaping will provide the neighboring residential property to the west with a more aesthetic view than the prior outside storage. Condition of site plan approval was that the owner was to repair the existing masonry knee wall along the south property line. This will be required to be completed prior to certificate of occupancy issued for the proposed storage building. And the appellant is making landscape improvements to the site, which will help to buffer the proposed building and 10-foot fence from the residential property to the west. The approved landscape plan indicates the addition of 20 Blue Point juniper evergreen trees installed at 3 to 4 feet in height along the west property line between the proposed fence and the westerly property line.
Great, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes, I do.
Any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
Just that I know from going through planning and city council, I guess they've been talking about increasing the privacy screen fence from 6 to 8 feet. So I guess, we're kind of looking at going just a couple of feet more, so that was all.
Good thought to preempt it, yeah, okay. The staff read the recommendation, please.
Staff's recommendation is to approve the variances requested based upon the following. The west rear yard setback variance requested will have minimal adverse effects on the residential property to the west, especially since the rear elevation of the proposed building is windowless with aesthetic architectural detail. And to the north, the proposed building will abut a mostly unused portion of the apartment complex. The appellant is approving the site by eliminating unsightly outside storage, adding the tall fence and evergreen trees along the west property line, as well as repairing the existing masonry knee wall along the south property line. And the proposed building addition and variances requested present a reasonable solution to the property owner's storage issues and are in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, so we'll open public comment. Since there's no one left with us, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Ms. Libet?
I don't have a problem with this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Friedman?
I have a actual slight issue with this, and I make this perhaps as a member of the public. I walk by, as does quite a bit of the community, through this area. There's that opening between Hilton and the parking lot, and I walk through every day. The outside storage that's currently there has been horrendous looking, but from the perspective not of the neighbors, but of the people walking through on that end of Hilton. And I'm concerned that a lot of aesthetic work has been done between the west side neighbor. But I would like to see something extend along the southern wall of that building, around that curve of Hilton. Because that's primarily where it's looked pretty bad is when you're looking from the south. Anybody coming in that parking lot from 10 Mile is looking right at that building. And besides, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of people walk through that every Saturday, that area, and they're walking right by that building. And I think they need a little bit of shielding for that building more than the neighbor does.
We could add some more landscaping through there, but we got very minimal.
I don't know what you do with the.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a brick wall going through the whole area except for that opening.
Correct.
Like a 5-foot.
If I might, through the chair, Mr. Friedman, they are repairing the brick wall along the south property line. That was a requirement because it has been in disrepair for some time.
Yeah, I'd like to see, like I said, I'd like to see it perhaps be higher, perhaps be, have those trees that you're putting along the west side extend at least toward the curve of, toward the end point of the curve of there. Because like I said, people walking there, those storage units have been quite ugly for a while. But in general, it's at the back of the store. It never looks great. And again, it's not just the people walking through there. Anybody coming in that parking lot, that entrance on 10 Mile, which is used by the building to the west.
Sure.
And the New Orleans Mall. You know, that's the angle at which most people are looking at the back of that building. So I'd like to see something along that south end. Again, if it's just the trees. And are you requiring them to rebuild the whole masonry wall all the way around to?
You know what, I'm not certain, I think it's just to repair what's in
That-
disrepair.
That's what was brought up during planning and city council, was just to repair what was there. And it would only be on the current property, because that wall does extend around and is on.
It extends out of the property.
Yeah, out of their
Orleans Mall
property, yeah. So their property stops basically halfway through that circle. That's where
Yeah,
that
right
line
there.
goes. So, yeah, the remainder of that wall is not technically.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the
so-
portion that again, would, you know, where it's unattractive, where the people would be looking. People basically are looking at that building for the most part from the south.
I've driven in there myself. I know what you're looking at. And that's why when we did that building, we kind of made it, a little nicer looking, and kind of did it some faux, window look to it to give it something a little more than just a big blank wall.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm suggesting really is that those trees that you're planting continue
Okay.
through the curve of that circle.
No, we can do
to
that.
shield the building a little bit.
Okay.
But I don't think I'd make it a condition of the just a public comment.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no comment other than I recommend whatever makes sense. What you said, I also recommend the same, okay? In regard to making it appealing, okay, to the public, okay?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I support the request and, stand with Mr. Friedman's request for additional landscaping, if possible. So, Mr. Friedman, you want to make the motion?
Sure, if I can find this.
Question
Well,
first?
yes, yes.
Okay. If we recommend, how do we leave it so that he knows he's got to do this? Is there something in writing or
I think we can add it as a condition. I think it's
make it part of the
sufficient to-
condition, okay?
Yep,
All right,
yep.
okay.
Okay. In regard to the appellant Richard Connick, architect, representing Whitmore Investments LLC's request for a variance from the board of 4 feet 11 inches of rear yard setback for the construction of a storage building, 15 feet required, 10 feet 1 inch proposed, and a variance of 4 feet of fence height, 6 feet permitted, 10 feet proposed, to construct a storage building on the property located on the west side of Greenfield Road, north of 10 Mile Road, Sidwell parcel 2424-481-020, located at 25155 Greenfield Road, Zone B3, General Business. I propose we approve the recommendation based on the following condition: the west rear yard, based on the following reasons. The west rear yard setback requested will have minimal adverse effects. First, I would just like to add, with the condition that the proposed landscaping that is proposed along the west side be extended to the south side of the property line on the semicircle at Hilton Road to the end of the property line. And I approve, and I recommend that based on the fact that the west rear yard setback requested will have minimal adverse effects on the residential property to the west, especially since the rear elevation of the proposed building is windowless, and to the north, the proposed building will abut mostly unused portions of an apartment complex, and that the appellant is improving the site by eliminating unsightly outside storage, adding a tall fence and evergreen trees along the west and parts of the south property line, as well as repairing the existing masonry knee wall along the south property line, and that the proposed building addition represents a reasonable solution to the property owner's storage issues and is still keeping it with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance.
All right, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay. All right, your request is granted.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Appreciate it.
With the variance, right?
Yeah, with the condition.
Yep,
Oh,
yep,
okay.
with
I
the
can make sure
condition,
he
yep.
knows, okay.
All right, so that closes our public hearing. We do have one set of minutes from July 16th. Any concerns, changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from July 16th.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. And next meeting looks like September 3rd, a potential case.
Yes, right now we do have a case where planning's waiting on a little more information from them. So if we do have to cancel the September 3rd meeting, we will post that on the website, or you can call, anybody can call the building department for further information at 248-796-4100.
Okay, thank you. And so if that is postponed, it would be postponed to the next meeting on the 17th, and there's one case there as well.
So far, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. Do you have a question? You made a movement. No. Okay. All right. Any miscellaneous? All right, thank you. I think you did a wonderful job. Appreciate it. No worries. Look, we all, yes, ma'am.
It's been a pleasure to work with you.
Dwayne.
Oh,
I
me?
wish- yes.
Oh, well, thank you. It's,
Well,
Is this your last meeting?
Yeah, September 1st is his
Oh,
retirement.
wow.
yeah, I wish you well as you retire and do some other kinds of things.
Play music all over the country,
Yes.
hopefully.
yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then we have a condo rented in Palm Springs for December, January, and February.
Nice.
So
Wonderful.
my daughter's out in LA, so we'll be about 2 hours away from her. She has a room for us there, I mean, a little in-law suite, but I don't wanna be in LA. So I'm gonna be I'll be out in the desert.
Good.
So that'll be fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for everything over, how many years? 2 years? Couple
I've been here
years.
5.
Yeah.
and-
Time flies.
5 years, but I retared from the city of Detroit. I was there 25 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he was there, I knew him 25 years ago in the city of
Okay.
Detroit.
And, my wife decided that I wasn't done working yet. She came home from work one day and said, "You need to go find a job." I
Well,
said,
we appreciate your service to the city of
"Well,
Southfield, so thank you.
It's
Thank
been a
you,
pleasure,
thank
I
you.
gotta tell you. It's a different animal, working in Southfield versus Detroit.
Sure.
So it's been a real pleasure.
Great. Well, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
All right, so we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And can I have a
Second.
second? All those in favor? Aye.